Hello and welcome to the Really Kevin podcast. I am your host, Kevin Mills, and today we're diving into a topic that has held many of us back from realizing our true potential. That is fear and self-doubt. These feelings are natural, but they don't have to control us. In this episode, we'll explore how you can break free from fear and self-doubt to unlock your full potential. This is a journey that takes intention and effort and courage. But once you start, you will find out for yourself how powerful you truly are. Throughout today's episode, I'm going to be sharing practical advice, maybe some personal stories, and some coaching tips. So stick around because we'll also be answering some of your burning questions and sharing inspirational stories. All you need to do is just drop them into our comments. We will respond to them. And even better yet, when you do that, people within our community, they step up. They are very supportive. They will share advice. They will share personal experiences as well. So make sure you drop them into our comments that you can share them with other people. You're watching the Really Kevin podcast. You can find us at reallyKevin.com along with lots of other resources and lots of other shows as well. Or you can find us on your favorite podcast platform, whatever that might happen to be. Now, before I jump into today's show, I want to remind you to follow us on social media and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. And again, as always, you can find all of our shows along with lots of resources, lots of tools, and more at reallyKevin.com. Resources that are going to help you grow and achieve your goals. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and get the show started.
In a world that's ever-changing, where dreams are in the making, there's a voice that's guiding you, helping you to break through. Boy! It's the Really Kevin podcast, where your dreams can come alive. With each story and each step, you'll find the strength to thrive.
Let's start by talking about what fear and self-doubt actually are. Fear is often rooted in uncertainty, whether it's fear of failure, rejection, or the unknown. Self-doubt is that inner critic that tells you you're not good enough or you can't do this. I want you to, as with all of our Really Kevin programs, I want you to have a pen and paper or a pencil and paper. Grab your pencil and paper, your pen and paper, and I want you to write down how these feelings, this you're not good enough or you can't do it, how these feelings affect you, the different ways that they affect you emotionally, mentally, even physically. I want you to write those down. Manifesting those onto paper, it makes them into something that's manageable, something we can deal with. And we're going to work with that in today's show. So grab your notes, write those down. How those feelings of self-doubt, you're not good enough for this, you can't do this, how they affect you emotionally, mentally, and even physically. Fear and self-doubt are often protective mechanisms. They're meant to keep us safe, but when they become chronic, they can paralyze us, stopping us from stepping into opportunities or making progress in life. Now, we may even know some of those people. We've certainly seen them on different TV shows. People who are so paralyzed by their own fears and their own self-doubts that they really need counseling. They need somebody to sit down and rewire their brain. We, believe it or not, are not that far from that. We just maybe don't manifest it the same way that they do. However, we have crippling fears and crippling self-doubts that are keeping us from being the person that we need to be, being the person that we should be. And we need to address those. We might not need a counselor at this point to do it. You might not even need a coach at this point to do it. But unless you address that, unless you decide that this is something that you're going to fix for yourself, that you're going to get resolved, it's not going to go away. So the first step in breaking free from fear and self-doubt is awareness. Know when you feel fear creeping up on you, take a second, pause, ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Is this fear based on reality, or it is a projection of something that I can't control? Being aware, knowing what those triggers are for the fear, for the doubt, being able to say, oh, whoa, not so fast. Let's go ahead and analyze this a minute. That's going to help you decide whether or not you're looking at a fear or a self-doubt that's actually realistic. And at the end of the day, I think you're going to find that most of them are not realistic. Excuse me. Note to everybody, don't eat your lunch before you do your show. Let's move into how you can rewrite that internal dialogue of fear and doubt. Most of the time, our inner critic is simply repeating messages that we've internalized over time, messages that we have got from society, from others, and even our past experiences. And they're just playing over and over and over in our head on a loop that's been recorded there. And that's what we choose to tap into versus the positive reinforcements that we've gotten probably from many of the different things that we've done. We need to choose to start listening to the positive and maybe even give ourselves more positive feedback. And we'll cover that in today's show. Some of the ways that these things affect us, and it goes all the way back to our childhood. How many of you had big dreams when you were a child? You were going to be an astronaut and a race car driver and a veterinarian and a doctor and a fireman and a policeman and. How many adults or older kids said, you can't do all those things. You're never going to be an astronaut. You know how hard it is to be an astronaut? You're never going to be a race car driver. You know how hard it is to be a race car driver. Your parents will never let you be a race car driver. How many times did you get negative reinforcement? Lots of negative reinforcement. When you were a child, you believed that you were going to be the astronaut, fireman, policeman, race car driver, doctor, veterinarian, whatever else it was. Nothing was going to stop you. You knew that in your heart, you knew that in your mind, that that is what you were going to do. The only reason that you didn't do that, I'm going to be honest with you, it's not because your goals were too aspirational. There are a lot of people who've done multiple things in life, me included, okay? It's not because your goals were too aspirational. It is because you let someone tell you, you believed that what somebody told you, you believed what society put out there, that you were not able to do those things, that you were not able to accomplish those things. Even if it was just being an astronaut, if you just wanted to be an astronaut and you had too many people tell you, you can't be an astronaut, it's too hard, it's this, it's that, it's the other, and you decided not to be an astronaut, you're doing something else instead. When you were a child, you believed you were going to be an astronaut. You probably role-played being an astronaut. You knew in your heart of hearts and your soul of souls that when you become an adult, you were going to be an astronaut. What stopped you? What killed those dreams for you? When we understand that we've got all that programming coming in, and a lot of it's negative, we can start sorting through it. We can get rid of the negative programming, and we can start accepting more positive programming. How many people in your life were supportive of you? When I hear children tell me those things, I tell them, I don't say, hey, you can't do all those things. It's just crazy. So you know what? I think you're going to be the best astronaut, doctor, race car driver, policeman, fireman, veterinarian that there ever was in the world. We need to tell ourselves those same things. Whatever else it is that we want to accomplish, we need to make ourselves believe realistically. And when I say realistically, it's because it's the truth, okay? Not, oh, well, we need to have realistic goals and realistic dreams. No, we need to shoot for the stars, okay? And we need to know that when we shoot for the stars, we can get to the stars. And we need to remind ourselves that we have it within ourselves. Every one of us was born for greatness. Every one of us overcame significant odds just to be here. We were destined for greatness, and we are letting ourselves down. We are letting everybody else around us by not being great. We need to decide that we are going to be great. We need to overcome that fear, that self-doubt, and anything else that is holding us back from being the greatest person that we can possibly be. I'm going to give you guys an exercise. Again, I hope you guys have your pens and papers. Write down your biggest fears and self-doubts. Next to each one of those fears and self-doubts, I want you to write down a positive counter thought, something that is going to negate that fear. And you may have to think about it. If you can't figure something out, ask for help in the comments on this video. Write down a positive counter thought. For example, If your fear is, I will fail if I try, counter it with, failure is part of growth. Failure is a step in opportunity. Every setback that we experience is a learning experience. It is an opportunity for growth. It is an opportunity. And we need to understand that. We need to recognize that, and we need to embrace it. If you're finding value in this episode, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. Make sure you check out our social medias. You can find them at realllykevin.com. We're going to be back in just a second after we take a break.
Absolution X. Lifestyle apparel like no other. Limited editions. Unique, exclusive designs. Seek your absolution. Get yours. Only at absolutionx.com.
Awaken your potential and harness the strengths of your inner self. Online courses that you complete at your own pace. Set and achieve all of your goals. Packed with an ever-growing catalog of information, resources, learning programs, weekly recorded coaching sessions, podcast, posts and more to keep you on track for your best life. Because the only person who can guarantee your success is you. www.realllykevin.com.
Live the resort lifestyle every day with Cayman K. The perfect pieces for every wardrobe. Shop the entire Cayman K collection and find your favorites. Find all our styles at caymank.com.
Welcome back. Today we're talking about overcoming fear and self-doubt. And one of our biggest fears, one of the biggest fears most of us face is the fear of failure, the fear of what if. But I'm going to tell you something. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of the journey. Without failure, we don't know when we have succeeded. Without some failures, that success isn't as sweet. We can't just go through life with just all successes. We're going to have to stumble sometimes. We're going to have to fail. So failure is not the opposite of success. Repeat that after me. Write that on your notes. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the journey. The greatest entrepreneurs, the greatest athletes and leaders, they've all failed countless times. You can Google failures, just put in a line, a name, and failures, and you can probably find, as far as like well-known people, different shortcomings, different failures that they have had. These are people that we look up to. These are people that we consider successful. What sets them apart from us is they're not afraid of failure. They're not afraid of overcoming that failure, and they have overcome that failure to become a greater person. Elon Musk failed at a number of different things that he has done. He has not been successful with every project that he's had. He has failed, but he has gone on to make other things that he has done a success, a huge success, a multi-billion-dollar success. If he had let failure stop him, if he had let it dissuade him, discourage him, and not do something because of it, he wouldn't be who he is. He would not be the richest man in the world or one of the richest men in the world, depending upon what day and week we're talking about, if he let failure stop him. And you will not be the great person that you are destined to be if you're afraid of failure and if you let failure stop you. So don't let failure stop you from moving forward. These people didn't. I don't. You shouldn't. I'll give you a quick tip here. Start reframing failure in your mind. Start realizing that every failure is actually a lesson. And that's the truth. That's not a trick. That's the truth. Every failure is a lesson. Every time that hammer hits that metal, that hot, heated metal, every time that hammer hits that metal, it makes it stronger. Our failures are the hammer. We are the metal. Every time we have a failure, it makes us stronger, but it also teaches us how to overcome that situation the next time so that it isn't a failure. I have a student who used to always say, he was an investor. He would say, if I lost everything tomorrow, I would turn around and I would do exactly the same thing I already did because I know it works. And you need to understand that in your life, you're going to have failures. Don't let it stop you. Go out there, make it happen. Do what works. Failure is what shows you what doesn't work. And the opposite of failure should be the opposite of what might be successful. But we already know the opposite of failure is not being successful. So I want you to keep that in mind. I want you to program that into your mind. Every failure is a lesson. Ask yourself when you've gone through this. I want you to, again, write these on your paper, not just this note right now, but I want you to keep a diary, a journal. We talked about this before. When you have a failure and when you have a success, I want you to write it down, and I want you to write down what you learned from this experience. What can you take away from the experience to help you the next time? How did success happen? How did failure happen? What can you do to expand on success? What can you do to minimize failure the next time you have a similar situation? And that mindset is a game changer. And I also want you to be able to share that with other people who might need that. Everything that we're going through, somebody else has been through it before. We may not know who that person is, but there are often times that we see people who are going through things that we've been through before. And a lot of times the attitude is, you know what, they got to do it themselves. They have to go through it themselves. And maybe to a certain extent they do. They have to overcome it for themselves. But there's nothing that says, there's nothing that dictates that we can't help them. We can't provide them if they want to hear it. We can't provide them our advice. Nothing that says we can't provide them with the experience that we've already had and how we overcame it or what we did to minimize what they are going through right now. And again, they may not want to hear it, but if they're willing to hear it, be willing to share that with them. Back to fear. Fear often feels overwhelming because we think we need to take giant steps to succeed, which is absolutely incorrect. Progress is made through small, consistent steps. If you're afraid of taking the leap, then start with a small step. A small step forward will still move you forward. Yes, a giant leap will get you there faster, but you know what? You take that giant leap and you might slip and fall. You might fall on your face, you might fall on your butt. If you're afraid of taking that giant leap and you're not confident that you're not going to slip and fall, then take a small step. 3 small steps typically will take you what a giant leap will. There is nothing that says you have to do this at a full-born run. You can take this small steps at a time. But the key is that you're moving forward, that you're taking those steps forward. Take each strategy and make it actionable. Pick the things that you've been afraid of, the things that you didn't want to do. Break them into smaller, manageable pieces, smaller, manageable steps that you can take to accomplish them, get them off of your list. For example, if you're afraid to start a business, start researching 30 minutes a day. Just that one small step can make a difference. Research the business, research how other people have done it, research the pros, the cons. Find out if there's anybody selling that type of business. Find out if there's anybody who wants to partner in that type of business. Talk to them. You may decide you don't want to buy their business. You may decide you don't want to partner with them, but everybody has something to share. Take that information and use it to bolster your efforts to start the business that you know is going to be successful. We're going to take a quick break. Got to pay the bills with some commercials. And by the way, check out our sponsors. They're awesome. Check out our sponsors, visit their websites, buy their stuff because they are here making all of this possible for us, keeping us on the air. We'll be right back.
Awaken your potential and harness the strengths of your inner self. Online courses that you complete at your own pace. Set and achieve all of your goals. Packed with an ever-growing catalog of information, resources, learning programs, weekly recorded coaching sessions, podcast, posts and more to keep you on track for your best life. Because the only person who can guarantee your success is you. www.reallykevin.com.
Live the resort lifestyle every day with Cayman K. The perfect pieces for every wardrobe. Shop the entire Cayman K collection and find your favorites. Find all our styles at caymank.com.
Absolution X. Lifestyle apparel like no other. Only at absolutionx.com. Get yours.
About fear and self-doubt, essentially, and how we overcome that. And one of the biggest parts of this, and we've already kind of discussed this, but we haven't put a name to it, and I'm going to put a name to it on this segment. It is mindset. We need to change our mindset on how we deal with our fear, our self-doubts, and everything else, because mindset is everything when it comes to overcoming fear and self-doubt. What we focus on becomes our reality. If you're constantly focusing on what could go wrong, then that's what you're going to experience. I mean, that old line says, when you're a hammer, everything else is a nail. If you're the hammer and everything else is the nail, and that hammer is what could go wrong, what could go wrong, what could go wrong, then you're only going to see what can go wrong versus what can go right. So start changing your mindset. Visualize success in the efforts that you want to take. Your brain is going to start seeing those visualizations, and they're going to start realizing that it can be a reality. And the only thing holding you back from making that a reality is yourself. I want you to write down on your paper some notes. How can you use visualization and positive affirmations to retrain your brain to get rid of fear, to get rid of self-doubt, and to start being programmed for success and for happiness? I want you to take a few minutes every day, and I want you to visualize yourself succeeding. Whatever it is that you picture as success, I want you to visualize yourself succeeding, but I also want you to write down the steps that are going to get you to that visualization of success. See yourself overcoming those challenges that you're facing that are going to get you from where you are now to where you want to be, to where you need to be your best self. Feel what it's like to reach your goals. These techniques not only will calm your fears, but they will also boost your confidence. Your brain is going to start saying, you know what? You got this. You can do this. And there's no reason why you shouldn't let your brain run away with you and make these things happen. The difference between where you are now and where you want to be is that the people who are where you want to be, or who are going in the direction you want to be, they've realized how to tackle their fears. They've realized how to overcome their self-doubts, and they've made them non-issues. Now let's shift gears a little bit. I want this to be interactive. I want you guys to take part in your own success. All right. I want you to come up with some real life success stories. People who maybe you didn't know, or people who you do know, who are real life success stories. I want you to pick 3. Research their lives. Research how they became a success. Research what they did, where they came from, and how they got to where they are now. If you find something that's inspirational, share it. Share it as a comment. Share it as an email. We'll share it with others. You're going to find that each of these stories of success has a common thread: persistence, self-awareness, and action. Goals without action are just dreams. You have to take action. They didn't let fear stop them from reaching their goals. Now, as we head into the final part of today's podcast, I want us to focus on practical steps that you can take right now to start breaking free from fear and self-doubt. Now, I'm going to give you 3 actions. I want you to write them down. These are actions that you can implement today. First one is acknowledge your fears. Write them down and reflect on them. Sometimes just seeing them on paper lessens their power. Write them down, reflect on them, and just like the exercise that I gave you earlier, I want you to write some counters to each of those fears so that you realize that every fear can be countered by something positive. I want you to commit to taking one small action. Remember that your small steps build momentum. Those small steps forward will still accomplish what leaps and bounds will. Just might not be as fast, but it will still accomplish it more than not ever taking that step. So I want you to commit to taking those steps. Start today. What's one thing that you can do today to push past your fear and start getting to where you want to be, to where you should be, to where you know you belong? Surround yourself with support. Having others in our ear telling us that we can do something, telling us that we're doing well, telling us that we're great, pushing us in the right direction is huge. It's powerful. Find a mentor, a coach, a family member, an accountability partner, anybody who can guide you and encourage you through this process that you're going through of being great. They're going to be your best cheerleader, and make sure you do the same for them. Help them, encourage them, get them to where they want to be, where they deserve to be as well. There's nothing that says that you can't take 2 journeys and still be holding hands with somebody else at the same time. So I'm going to wrap up the show because my lunch is giving me some serious heartburn. We have covered a lot of ground today, and I hope you're walking away from this show with a lot of new tools to break free from fear and self-doubt. You're going to find even more at realllykevin.com. But remember, fear is just an emotion, and it doesn't have to control your life. You have the power to rewrite your story and to reach your full potential. I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of Really Kevin Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform so you don't miss an episode. Visit realllykevin.com for more resources, more episodes, and to help you in your journey to success. For Really Kevin, I am Kevin Mills, and I look forward to seeing you back here again. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us on the Really Kevin Podcast. Just a reminder, you can catch the Really Kevin Podcast on your favorite podcast platform in both audio and video formats. Make sure you check our realllykevin.com for resources, programs and more, and make sure you join us back here again for the Really Kevin Podcast. Follow us for even more content on our social media channels. Really Kevin on Facebook, Instagram at IG Really Kevin, TikTok is TT Really Kevin, and X, formerly known as Twitter, at X Really Kevin. And again, don't forget to check our www.realllykevin.com. Until next time, enjoy your amazing life.